high-end quality products onto this new solution of resilient floors. So next slide, I'm going to actually show you a quick video, just a short video, and it will give you just a highlight of what this process and program looks like, what the products look like, and then we'll go into a little bit more detail of that. All right, so you get a quick highlight of what we're trying to do. This program was introduced in Europe, Bona, Europe, about 5 years ago. So we've had quite a history already under our belts, understand the product and what it can do. We introduced this last year in the US, and I've had it down on a number of floors here in the US. I'll show you a couple of case studies and highlights of some floors that we've done, but it's a pretty simple system. We're going to go through the process and what you got to do it, but you get the idea. The idea is to be able to take a existing resilient floor, which could be VCT, rubber, sheet vinyl, any sheet goods, any VAT, vinyl asbestos tile, and transform that floor without having to do any of the tear out and repairs that are necessary in that floor. So you definitely have changed the way you can approach floor care and change the way you approach, highlighting these floors and taking care of these floors and some new processes that haven't existed before for solutions. It's a very easy process. As you saw in the video, it's really like painting on a floor, and it really is. It's that easy. For most of you on the floor, familiar with on this call, are familiar with the process of stripping your floors already and understand how to do that. So we're still doing that here, and then cleaning the floor. You saw the color chipping, and then we put 2 coats of clear. So it's 1 coat of color, 2 coats of clear over the top of those. Once you do that, you do not have to strip this floor ever again. This is a non-strippable finish. It doesn't require any stripping or burnishing or buffing or any of that kind of stuff. And you maintain it with the way that you always maintain your floors. Again, very, very easy solution to do. It's very environmental friendly. You're not filling landfills up with polish and stripper and all that, as well as old floors. You're not doing that to the environment and causing those issues there. Right now, what we have is 7 base colors and 15 base chip colors on there. So you can create a pretty endless combination of colors and looks from that. It's stock colors. So the colors already in there. There's no adding of color that you have to do on that. We'll talk a little bit more of that in a second. So just a couple different areas that you can address retail. We've done quite a few in some retail areas. The speed at which you can do this allows retail to not have to shut down their stores. In this particular one, Goodwill had been taking out their VCT floors and polishing concrete, and they were not happy with that solution for a couple reasons. One, it shut down their stores for about 2 weeks. And then the concrete was very difficult to take care of afterwards. We were able to do their floors in sections, and they never had to shut down the floor or shut down the store, in that location. We've done some other locations, some auto repair stores and back rooms of Office Depots and other places like that as well. Education's a big one for us. We do a lot in education on our hardwood floor side, but we've had a lot of success with education for the resilient. There's a lot of reasons that different school systems are using or choosing this product lineup. One is obviously cosmetic. We've had people put it over epoxy as well, as you can see in the center picture there. For cleaning issues, we've had slip and fall, put it in locker rooms for that. We've upgraded school gymnasium floors with it. It also addresses their ongoing maintenance of it, since you don't have to strip and recoat or add coats of polish at that point. It saves a lot of labor, man hours on there. So there's a lot of reasons it has worked really well in our education sector. So there's some big selling points to this, I guess you would say, big advantages to it. Obviously, the sustainability piece and the reducing the environmental impact you have. Another big one is on that sustainability environmental is the VAT. Not having to abate VAT, you can coat over the VAT and therefore theoretically isolate the VAT from it. It works really well. I'll show you some pictures later for that. It's waterborne chemistry, so very, very low VOCs, almost no smell. So the environment in the building is still very, very good. Value. It's significantly less cost than repairing a floor or replacing a floor. Not only from a actual cost to material, but a cost from downtime to downtime. So downtime in a building is a major issue. Say a hospital operating room that we've done, the downtime is critical. And so it is much better situation than tearing the floor out. And then the design and durability. I mean, even if you are replacing a VCT floor with a brand new VCT floor, it will cost more than this, but you're still ending up with a VCT floor that you have to take care of, and might not be as pretty. You're able to do for less cost. You're able to upgrade your VCT floor with the system and still have the less ongoing maintenance of that floor. So you're extending that. Real quickly, I talk about how we get the floor ready and what it takes to do this. This is a really easy process for most people. We have had very few that say they don't want to do it. It's all been done in-house by facility managers, BSCs, EVS group, painters, with high rate of success. Most times we're showing people how to do this one time, and they're going out throughout their building and doing it on their own. The prep process is very simple. You're going to strip, if there's any polish on that floor, we need to strip that floor just the normal way that you've always stripped the floor. Nothing special or different about getting polish off. You can use our machine with the multi-disc to remove that stripper. It works, move that polish. It works really well at doing that, but you can use your traditional methods of stripping as well on that. Once you do that, we are going to ask or require that you use our system now at this point to abrade the floor. So you're going to use that multi-disc that you see down on the bottom, the 6-headed disc. You do not have to use our buffer or our side-by-side. You can put those on any buffer. We have them in 16 and 20-inch sizes. They fit on anything, so you can put it on any side-by-side and use it there. But we do need the multi-disc with our 80 grit diamond abrasives that abrades the existing resilient floor to get it ready for our product. Really, the only critical thing to all this is to making sure that all the polish is off. Once all the polish is off, then the adhesion of our product to that floor is excellent. We just not going to be an issue as far as adhesion goes there. So getting that polish off is important. Obviously, you guys know once you do that, you get all that stripping compound and water and stuff off the floor. And you can do that a number of ways: auto scrubber or wet dry vac in there. Again, I want to highlight and remember that once you do this, once you strip this floor, this is it. You will never have to strip this floor again. You will never be in that situation of slipping in stripper. You know, I've talked to a few schools around the country that talk about their workman's comp claims just on slip and falls in stripper. And, you know, that's something that you avoid moving forward. That's a one-time deal. And then we're just going to clean it, neutralize it. We have neutralizer that you can put in the auto scrubber. You can use your own, but again, we're just going to clean it, water clean it, neutralize it, get it ready to go. Once we have that done on every floor except linoleum, once we have that done, you got about a couple hours. You can put a fan on it, get it dry. Once that top surface is dry, you make sure that no water has seeped down below cracks or anything like that. But once that surface is dry, you can start the recoat process. Everything else can be done except lino. Like I said, linoleum is a absorbent surface. So we want to make sure that that is really dry, and that takes 24 hours to dry. So we will have to wait 24 hours on the linoleum type products. But sheet goods and VCT and VAT and all those other products we can coat in about 2 hours. Once we get to this part, we're now recoating with the paint. Like I said, it's a paint coating with 2 coats of clear. So you're going to paint the floor, and it really is that easy. You saw him pouring the paint on the floor and then rolling in it. If you can paint a wall, this is easier. It's very, very difficult to mess this up. You just are going to put the paint on the floor. It levels really easily. It smooths out great. It hides a lot. It is normally every color coats in one coat. There's a few, if you were to use that light fog color, and put it over maybe a black tile or something, you might need a little bit more, but 99% of the time, this is a single coat product. It is a 2-component product, as you see here. So the paint and the clear are both 2 components. So it requires a hardener to be put in this. This is a urethane product. It is not epoxy. It is not like epoxy, doesn't act like epoxy, really has nothing in common with epoxy. But as a 2-component product, and you have about anywhere from 2 to 4 hour pot life, depending on your conditions and all that kind of stuff. So you can mix it in sections. You do not have to mix a whole pail. So if you're doing smaller than what a pail will do, you can mix it in smaller quantities to not waste anything. Again, I talked about the chips. You can put chips into it. We normally put chips into most floors, especially a VCT floor. You do not have to put chips in, but it does do a really good job of adding some cosmetic piece to the floor and hiding any inconsistencies, bad tiles, cracks in the floors, all the things that you're trying to hide on a really bad floor when we're doing this. We suggest 2 to 3 different chip colors in a floor. It helps it make it look a lot better than a single chip color. So you get those nice contrasted colors when you're doing that. We do have these base color chips. We also have custom color chips that you can get. So we've did for example, a K-12 school where they had colored pods, and they wanted the area designated by color pods. At a purple pod and a yellow pod, and we just changed the chip colors in those particular pods to match what their lockers and walls and all that kind of stuff look like, but use the same base fog color on there. So you can do a lot with the chip colors to make it look unique there. Once you're done with that, you are applying the 2 coats of clear on top, and it's the same process. Pour it on and put it down, and you're done at that point. As we look here to probably answer some questions that might already be coming up, is how quick does it dry? So the color and clear all dry in about 2 to 3 hours. Most time we're able to recoat because we can put a fan on it to actually dry the floor quickly. Even while that paint or clear is wet, you can put a fan on it. It still will flow out properly. In between coats in good conditions, we're about an hour, and then we can recoat that. So it dries really, really quickly. We're going to get 450 to 500 square feet per pel. We're closer to 550 to 600 square feet, honestly, on per pel. So it's a little bit better than that. 75% cured after 24 hours. So it cures up pretty quickly. Remember, the pot life is 2 to 4 hours. You have 24 hours of open time. So you have 24 hours to coat, meaning if you did your paint coat, you got 24 hours of open time to put your clear coats on top of that. You can use ventilation to aid drying, and we always do. We always put fans on there to aid drying. It dries it out much, much quicker, and doesn't do any harm to the floor. And the chips cover about 1,500 square feet per pound. So again, it's an easy process. It's something that we would demo with a team. And once we do it, everybody's able to just run with it and do it on their own. It's very easy to do. As far as cleaning goes, from that point forward, cleaning is easy. It's cleaning how you've always cleaned it. It cleans up really well. You can flat mop it. You can auto scrub it. You can use whatever cleaners you're currently using. You can use our cleaners here that we have that are made specially for it. The maintenance on that point is just that. You can easily get scuff marks out of it. They don't stick very well even to it, but you can get scuff marks out of it. But it's a very, very easy product to clean on there. As far as chemical durability, I wanted to touch on this because this is an important part. And this is actually something that someone else did. This was a BSC that actually did this on their own. And I thought it was interesting to see their own results. And what they did was they took our floor, they let it dry for 24 hours. And 24 hours later, they put these products on there, some hand sanitizer. And as you all know, probably right now, hand sanitizer is killing floors right now more than anything. And it's just a nightmare for buildings. We're having a lot more hand sanitizer and disinfectants in buildings than we've ever had before. But hand sanitizer, some glass cleaners, and other types of cleaners, and tile grout cleaner. And so you have a very wide range of chemicals that were put on this floor. From acidic to alkaline cleaners. They left them on for 7 hours in their concentrated form. So they just dumped it right out of the bottles in their concentrated form right on the floor there. 7 hours later, they didn't do anything to it. It had dried, some had evaporated, but most of it just dried hard. At that point, they took just a wet Bona flat mop and water, no cleaner, just water, and clean that off. And they had zero issues, zero effects to that flooring anywhere from any of those cleaners. And it follows what we've learned with our products as well, is that we just don't have issues with chemical. The chemical resistance is really off the charts. Hand sanitizer and disinfectants, as I mentioned, won't do anything to this floor. Stain won't stain. Scuff marks, you could get a scuff mark in it, but it just pops off real easy with a flat mop. So from healthcare to schools to retail, it's a very, very easy floor to clean at this point. And really now all you have to do for maintenance is anywhere between 2 and 5 years, depending on how well you clean it, just like anything else, how well you clean it and maintain it, but a minimum of 2 years. And we've seen floors that are 5 years old that at that point, all you're doing is recoating with the clear. You never have to do the color again. You never have to strip. You're never doing anything else besides doing a light abrasion to that top coat and putting a new clear coat down on top of that floor. Dry it in 2 hours and you're back in business that next day. So it's a really easy process in there. One other part of the floor that I wanted to talk or touch on is something that's a concern to everybody, especially now. And I don't know if it just hasn't been People haven't paid attention to it as much in the past, but you know, floors get dirty and floors cause problems. And there's some new reports out in the healthcare industry about cross-contamination and how floors play a really important part in that. What we've done here is a test on some, this is LVT in this picture. And on the top picture there on the left-hand side, you can see LVT, new LVT that has been untreated. So it's installed factory finish, LVT, lifetime maintenance-free floor that you all hear about. And you can see how much represented by the glow there, how much bacteria, dirt, and other things are being held in that LVT floor. In the middle of the picture is actually where planks have been taken out of the floor, and you can see how much is seeped in through that floor. On that top right hand, and you can see the top of the floor, the significant difference in treated with the Bona pure, the Bona clear coat only on that one. And then the bottom pictures again shows a lot of the glow and those products that have seeped in through the bottom. So we know that our clear only on an LVT or any other floor for that matter is going to create a better, healthier floor surface. This picture is even a bigger highlight to me. This is a VCT floor, and the VCT floor on the left-hand side of your picture is a VCT floor with 6 coats of freshly applied polish. So it's brand new polish, brand new system. And after it's been applied, we've put the glow on and cleaned it with a flat mop and cleaner. And that's what you have. You can see all the glow on the surface, but you can really see all the glow, the bacteria as it would be, dirt into the seams. On the right-hand side is after we've done our system, which is 1 coat of paint and 2 coats of clear. You can see the significant difference in how little is on that surface, but how none is in the cracks. So you're not getting any contaminants in the cracks of that floor as compared to a polish system. And as you know, I mean, that's 6 coats of new polish. You can imagine what a worn out floor would be like compared to the resilient. So a much cleaner, healthier floor there than what you would have without the resilient system. And it also shows how much easier it is to clean, therefore how much longer it can go without having to do those maintenance coats on there. All right, a couple of case studies we'll talk about, and then I'll answer some questions. What we're looking at here is a hospital and what they saw at a hospital. We did a operating room at a hospital. We did it strictly for slip and fall issues in it. And what was the result of that was a significant difference in downtime from replacement to us doing it. We did this one, and here it is in before and after. We did this one in about 5 hours from start to finish. That's the total time prepping, coating, and walking out. And they actually had a surgery in that operating room the next morning at 10 a.m. And they had a hemorrhage with blood and all that good stuff and betadine, and had no issues with that floor. We also solved their slip fall issue. This is a birthing room. And they had actually slipped with a baby moving from the mother to the baby holder, and the doctor slipped. And so we have a slip additive, anti-slip additive. You wouldn't want a slip additive, I guess. An anti-slip additive that you can put into our clear coat that is covered by our second clear coat. So you still are able to clean and still no voids, no issues from that, but gives you that grit that is required to keep you from slipping. We've put, like I said before, we've put that anti-slip in quite a few locations, and some entryways into an industrial building that had a lot of snow and stuff like that, as well as locker rooms in schools. So we've used the anti-slip quite a bit. But in this operating room, and this was done well over a year, about 18 months ago, and still hasn't touched it, and everything is in good shape on that floor. from a little testimonial from them there at that location as well. Another good case study is a nursing station from Providence Hospital. We did sheet vinyl on this one. And we did it. This was on the operating wing. This was the medication room on the operating wing, patient rooms. And so we did this again, both the operating room that I just showed you and this one we did while people were in the building, in their rooms. And that operating room, we actually did it while they were delivering a baby in the operating room right next to us. Zero complaints on smells. No one could even knew we were there. Same thing with this nurse's station. What they learned off of this one, and this is all stuff from them, is that our recoating process was cost them about $600. New installation of that floor, they had a bid of $7,000 on that. And that didn't include out of service time on that. So they didn't have to be out of that room for more than 5 hours. So it obviously highly recommended and no demolition, disposal, and landfill. They're using on a lot of asbestos area that they have as well. So some really good feedback in there. And this particular one, they're using their painters to do it. The operating room on the one was using the facilities group to do it. We've got a couple hospitals that the EVS group is doing it. On education, where custodial staff is doing it. This one is a middle school bathroom over epoxy, actually. And so this was a sanded epoxy floor. And they actually had a health department come in and give them a warning about the floor not being able to be cleaned because it had that sand in it and was causing all kinds of problems. And you can just see how yucky it is, especially around the urinals were really bad. And we redid that, and they this particular school ended up doing about another 20,000 square feet of surface area there after this. But we went back about a year later and looked at the floor, and no urine etching at all from that. We know that it doesn't urine etch. We've had this in airports, in men's urinals over Terrazzo, and we know there's no urine etching as well, which is a big deal and a nightmare. I'll show you a couple others here just to give you kind of a wide range of what we can do and what the product can do and how it works. But school entryway, you see that VCT is in really bad shape. And, you know, they just really didn't see any other solution for it besides tearing it out. And what we did is we actually not only put our stuff in there, but we put a decal in there as well, that their school decal, and we covered that decal with our clear coat. So it's under a clear coat, so they will never have any issues with that decal. Which brings me to another point on decals. There's a lot of requirements and things being done with floor signage for social distancing and arrows and all those kind of things. We've put it in manufacturing as well, where they've had to put yellow lines, other different areas like that they are constantly replacing caution signs, and putting them under our clear coat has eliminated all those issues of constantly replacing areas. I think I said Tony was on here, and this is actually one that we did at his school in Elk Grove, trying to match epoxy on it. I think we did a really good job of matching the epoxy that they had in their bathrooms on there. So that top very right-hand picture is the epoxy, and ours is the bigger picture there. So he did a pretty good job of matching that epoxy at a much significant lower cost and time. The reason I put the epoxy in here is just to talk about epoxy. Epoxy requires a couple things that are different than ours. It requires the VCT to come out and be the concrete to be prepped, and usually sandblast or something to get that epoxy to here. It's a much longer process and a much more disruptive process. The other big thing about the epoxy that most people complain is either yellowing over time. So it starts to get a yellow, it starts to degrade from urine or hand sanitizer or cleaner or some of those things. And you can't apply a coat of epoxy on top. So the maintenance of it is really new epoxy or new pour of epoxy as it compared to just a single coat of clear finish over the top of it that can be done by a user as opposed to hiring a contractor to bring that epoxy, redo that epoxy there. So it's much more user-friendly, easier to do, and much lower cost, significantly lower cost than an epoxy program on there. A couple others. So Terrazzo, I talked about Terrazzo. We have done it over quite a bit of Terrazzo, just clear coat, because you don't want to hide the beauty of the Terrazzo. So this one was Terrazzo border with the center being VCT, and then, you know, we obviously read the middle and just clear coated it over the Terrazzo. Works great for that. You do not have to use the whole system, meaning you don't have to use color and clear. If you just wanted to use clear, you can do that. You had a really beautiful LVT floor and you just wanted to maintain it or protect it, close those gaps off, you can use just the clear on there. Process is the same as what we discussed before, but it works really good over those areas. This was in a cafeteria. That steel door is the door they pick up their food, and has always had a lot of spills and, you know, yucky things like spaghetti and acidic products that usually tear up their polish underneath. And this has withstood all that. I show this. This is an industrial bathroom in actually Delta Airlines. And this is where the mechanics come in and from the big hangars and everything. And they were cleaning these floors nightly with auto scrubbers and degreaser. And you can see all the dirt on the floor. It's actually airline grease and stuff. So they moved to 4 nights once we did this project, every 4 nights. So they say it's the BSC on staff saved a significant amount of time doing that. It is over concrete. So the question comes up, can this go over concrete? We are testing over concrete. We're not quite ready to release on concrete yet, but we have done a lot of testing. If you have concrete and would like to do a test on concrete, we're happy to do that. We've had a lot of success with it. But we're not quite at the point where we're going to launch a product for concrete yet till we cross a little bit more categories off to make sure it's good for that. But so far, so good in these areas that it's worked out great. Again, a retail store, that was a auto parts store I talked about earlier. This is just the clear over LVT, so you can see the before and after and how the clear does a really good job of cleaning that floor up and protecting it. This particular location, they wanted to see a color and clear and what it would look like. They chose, believe it or not, the color. And this also shows one that we didn't chip. So we ended up doing that without chipping, and it still maintains some of that wood grain and stuff. I would have preferred the clear myself, but they wanted to do the color system there. Classrooms, quick, easy, bright to do. You know, it's just it's a very easy process to put in the classrooms and not have to empty out those classrooms every year to repolish or strip or buff and coat. You know, it's a pretty foolproof product to do that and upgrade and make those rooms look just a whole lot better on there. Something as bad as a laundromat, you know, it's a pretty bad floor in a laundromat, and you can see how much better that made that building look. More classrooms. We've done a ton of classrooms with just a lot of success. People really like it in these areas, and the durability and just the brightness. That picture hasn't been adjusted, by the way, from the light in the two. You can just see how much more brighter that floor is from what they had originally there. It can go over wood. So if you have a wood location, you can go over wood. You can hide all that yucky wood if you chose to do that on there. Wood stage that they did. A couple more school entryways, other things. So lots of VCT that we're putting it over in there. Here's a middle school gym that was done over rubber. So it works really good over a rubber floor, and is a really inexpensive, good solution to some of these really bad floors. You can also, if you have a really nice rubber floor, you can put a clear coat over that rubber and protect it and give a coating that is going to be something that can be cleaned and maintained. The biggest challenges with rubber is just cleaning them and getting that dirt and junk out there. Rubber holds so much of that, and putting a clear coat over it provides that solution for you. You'd think of it almost as like a wood floor gym coating in this particular sense, and you could then recoat those rubber floors on a regular basis like you would your wood floor gym. A couple more classrooms. I showed this picture because I want to show that, you still are going to see some of the seams and stuff. It's not a poured product. It's not the intent of the product. Now, it still made that classroom look 100 times better. And they were sure pleased with what the results were there, and continued on into other classrooms. But that's about as bad of a floor as that you can get. And you're still going to see some of that transfer of pieces in there. So, I just don't want to get the impression that you're pouring out a 30 mil coating like you would in an epoxy. You're closer to 5 mils or so. A few more. This is a VAT. We've done a lot of VAT and a lot of success. The difference in VAT that we would do differently than our other floors is how you would prep the floor. You have to follow OSHA and EPA standards on prepping the floor. For those that are stripping and doing that, know what those are. If you don't, we can discuss that, but you have to follow that. So that means you cannot use our diamond system on there. There's no abrading the floor allowed in there, but we're still trying to get that polish off as necessary, and then coating that over on there. So that VAT now is embedded in that product and is not exposed to anybody anymore, and saves significant amount of abatement cost on there. I've seen abatement costs of $18 to $38 a square foot on there. The other nice thing about color over VAT is if you did have an issue, unlike polish, if you had an issue where you had an adhesion failure, you're going to know on a spot, you're going to know instantly that asbestos is there, that the asbestos tile is exposed with a spot of color missing. Much more difficult to see under a clear coating of polish. And there has been lawsuits and lost lawsuits by school districts on some of this asbestos tile. So it is a concern, and it is a good solution for that. Finally, just a little senior care center that point this out, that there's some cosmetic things that can be done on here. So you can do borders in different colors and change the chip colors from the side to the middle. You can do patterns in the floor, all very easy to do on there. It's just tape work. And so there's a lot of cosmetic things that you can do to make the floor look, just look better on it. So, I see there's a couple questions on here. I will answer some of those questions. That's the end of this piece. Really what we would like to do is to encourage you to reach out to us for a demo. We are happy to come to your location and demo this product. It's really something, it's great to see pictures and all that kind of stuff, but the proof is in the pudding, right? And we are happy to come out and do a demo at your jobs, at your site, to show you. And we know you'll be very happy once you see that process being done on there. So can answer some questions on here. I think there's quite a few. First one, does this work with VCT floors that lack a vapor barrier? Yes, it does. So the only thing we have to watch about for VCT floors is alkaline salts. That's a very rare thing that happens, but there's a few, especially in the southeast, some of those, but 99.9% of the time, we don't have any issues with that. So you do not need a vapor barrier underneath. The durability of the top coat of the finish is another question. Again, I think I mentioned that, but I can talk to it again. We're in that 3 to 5 year range before you need to recoat that. It just really is dependent on how well you take care of it, but there's really nothing that can happen to it besides it losing some of its shine in scratching on there. It's really not going to get attacked by chemicals and scuff marks and all that kind of stuff. Next question is, how do you know you have the floor clean and stripped well enough not to cause any issues with the paint? Again, like I said, that's the hardest part of the whole thing. Two things that are hard here. One is that. Second one is chipping. I'll talk about that in a second. But the floor needs to be stripped well. This will stick to polish. The problem is that how well is the polish sticking to the floor? So, you know, just like any coating that you put on your house or your cabinets or your gym floor or anything else, your top coat is only as good as your bottom coat. So if your bottom coat is not adhered to that product, then you're not going to have a good adhesion all the way through. So it's important to get that floor stripped well. If you have left polishing corners or little spots that you missed, it's not going to delaminate. I can tell you in our experience in the last 2 years, we haven't had a single issue of delamination of product over any polish or any VCT or anything anywhere on there. Next question, how does this perform with salt or calcium chloride brought in on shoes during winter months? Yeah, it won't cause any issues. Again, it's super chemical resistance to all those things. It cleans up really easily. One of the concrete tests actually is in my garage in Denver, which I have a lot of pretty bad weather, and it's been down for quite a few years, and none of that stuff does anything to the floor. Stuff is pretty rock solid. And plus we have it a lot of other places. I mentioned Delta. They in Minneapolis have a pretty severe winters as well, and have it in some front facing customer areas with the same kind of issues. And that's where they put that. I was talking about the anti-slip there for that reason, for that snow. So it holds up really well to that. Next one is, what about gaps in VCT? Do you use some type of joint filler? You can. It would be very time consuming. We do have an epoxy product that you can put in the joints. Most people are not that concerned about it. It does fill up a lot of the joints on there. But if you had some bigger cracks and missing tiles, you know, any of that kind of stuff, we have a 3-minute epoxy that you could put in the crack. And to be honest on that one, Tony, we are looking at a solution that would be a quicker. There's just nothing out there right now that you could fill all the gaps quickly and easily. We are looking at a solution. We have a few that we're probably going to come out with in 2021 to joint fill that easily. Possibly a roll-on solution where you can roll it on just like you're rolling on the paint and fill those gaps if necessary. It is free. The next question is, it freeze, thaw, stable? If so, how many times can it freeze and thaw? 3 times. So it's 3 times is the max there. You would see it if you went past that, you would see it kind of almost crystallize in there. So you would know it'd be a little chunks and stuff, but it is freeze thaw stable for 3 times. How many of the chips are used in a 1,000 square foot floor doing a full broadcast? The question is how much chipping. I said 2 hard parts. One is stripping or making sure all your polish is off. Second is chipping. Chipping is only hard because it is the most cosmetic piece of it. And so how many chips you should put on a floor is in the eye of the beholder, right? So how many chips are used? We typically say 1,500 square feet per pound of chips. That depends on how heavy you chip the floor. So if you do a full chip, full chip, you're going to be closer to the 500 square feet, 400 square feet. If you do a really light chip, you might be at 2,500 square feet. So it really just depends on how many chips you want to put. We really try to stay in that 1,000 square feet per 1,000 to 1,500 square feet per pound is really what looks the best. Do you have a epoxy repair kit to do repairs on the floor before coating? Yes, that was the epoxy that we have. It's a really good epoxy, works great. You can glue down tiles with it. You can fix rubber floors with it if there's cracks and all that kind of stuff. So you can do that all with that epoxy. Since linoleum is more of a natural product, is it the same stripper for all floors? So the thing about the stripping the linoleum is normally you need to use a linoleum safe stripper, a Lino Safe or something like that on there. The reason you're doing that is to keep from damaging the cosmetic look of the linoleum floor. If you're stripping and putting color over the top of it, you're not as concerned about that. So you could use something a little more stronger to get that that finish off. But if you're going to just put clear over it, then you need to use a linoleum safe stripper. Next question is, do the finish meet ADA requirements for slip resistance? Yes, it meets the ADA requirements for slip resistance, ASTM standard 0.55 on that as well. Next question, can the base coat be applied using a T-bar? It can. It doesn't work as well, but it can be applied using a T-bar. Question, can this go over concrete? See, I knew someone would ask about concrete. Yes, we are working on the concrete solution right now. It looks good. And the second question that was asked, will high moisture slabs have an effect on the Bona paint and coating? And that's the concern for concrete, is what high moisture slabs. The nice thing about a resilient floor is the same VCT is the same in Florida as it is in California. Slabs are not the same in Florida and California. So that's the thing that we've got to make sure is safe on there. And high moisture slabs and their issues, what effect that's going to have on our coatings, adhesion, and such. So far, so good. We've done it over those. But again, we've got to cross those, make sure we're safe on that before we release that to the public. But we are in what we would call a high level testing or soft launch. We've done it now for a year on a lot of slabs, but we're now in the next stage where we're ready to move it to customers and do a much higher level test. Should be 2021 for concrete release of this soft launch to get it on more slabs. Then we can go from there. So concrete, which any hard surface concrete, we're looking at porcelain tile, ceramic tile, Corey tile. We've done all those, terrazzos. So all those harder surfaces on there, we would do on that. So I think there was 5 of the last questions or so were about concrete. One is how long you let the floor stripper dwell on the floor for a certain amount of time. You got to read the directions on the stripper, and you've got to know polish. And normally if you stripped a floor before, that there's a time you can see the polish start to come up and know when to start abrading. But usually the directions will tell you that right on the stripper on how long to let it dwell and how long to keep it wet and all that on there. Are there any other questions? Again, I know there's a lot of information here, and I appreciate the time that you took with us today. We, again, want to encourage you to reach out to us to get a demo and let us come and show it to you in your facility and what we can do and how easy it is and how we can help you solve a lot of solutions on some bad floors out there for a pretty inexpensive solution compared to the other options out there, not just replacement of floors, but also in long-term care of those floors on there.
Looks like that's all the questions. Again, if you have any, reach out to Dave and he'd be happy to answer them for you. Thanks, everyone. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen to our webinar today.